Next week we'll have roll call. And now hearing anyone would like to address the commission, open the floor. Anyone wants to comment?
I got a comment.
Okay.
I'll be real brief today, about 1 minute. So, one question that's lingering is, we've asked a couple of weeks ago, or I should say a couple of months ago, and Eddie may have this, are we up to snuff with the, RSAP?
As far as paid up, yes.
And last call,
Well,
they have.
Leslie, you're here, can you confirm, we've got the final invoice from,
All the invoices that I've had.
yeah, everything's been submitted.
So we don't have any lingering obligations, I guess is what I'm getting at, to them.
Not that I'm aware of.
What now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I had our attorney who's coming in now, look at those contracts,
Yeah.
and be ready to give us kind of updates if we wanted to terminate that.
I would be questioning on that last study that he did, if he had invoiced.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen an invoice, so I kind of think it's been.
Okay, if it's been turned in, I'm sure it's been taken care of.
It's been turned into the finance office, it's been paid.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay.
What was the final? What was the final total on this last?
I'd have to look, maybe tell you next week, I don't remember what he
Well, we
charged.
paid 270, and they wanted what? At 250, 20,000, is that what, right?
I think this was, he was estimated around 20.
Yeah, I remember him telling us verbally that he estimated that, and I don't think that's about what that invoice was, but I'd have to, yeah, I see so many numbers every day, don't recall,
I
I
haven't
have
seen it.
misquote.
Well, I think the figure for it was people won't terminate the meeting.
Okay, so no lingering ties. If this commission decided to terminate, there wouldn't be strings with the architect. It's going back to that conversation we had a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I had a chance to look it over again, so that contract, and I had this, first time this came up, I was able to look at the contract, so didn't have it last meeting when it came up.
Okay.
I do now, so 9.5 essentially says the owner, that would be the county, the owner may terminate the contract for their convenience and without cause upon providing not less than 7 days written notice to the architect, so, just get the pay up and walk away.
Okay.
So does
Yeah.
does that include Southfield? Because architect is Superior Architect,
Correct. It's two contracts, one with Southfield and one with Spirit Architecture.
so we're good on all contracts.
I looked at Spirit Architect, I didn't look at the others.
Or Southfield was, they're actually the overseer.
Subsidiary, yeah.
They're the manager, yeah.
Yeah, they're the manager of the contract. Our, Spirit is just the
Architect and
architect
architect.
engineer.
So is
And
there,
then there's, an engineering firm with one also.
No, I think it was just two contracts, one was Smith Gold, Smith Gold Construction, and then Spirit Architecture. That's what the two contracts are.
so two separate contracts,
Uh-huh.
and both of them are paid up, or you know that?
I don't know that we've ever been invoiced
Like
by
they need to-
Smith Gold Construction, because we not built anything, it's all been engineering and architecture.
Okay, and then the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, Billy and me and Karen went over to the jail and visited them, did a complete tour. And the only one thing that I want to bring up, well, two things, we had like, I guess 5 or 6 police officers go with us through there. And they made a couple of comments that were really interesting. One was that our jail is not near as bad as a lot of other jails, and I'm not talking about the new ones. But anyway, they did make that comment, but specifically what I want to bring up was in the women's cell, pod, you know, we talked about that floor being wet. Well, that floor is not on, there's 11 inmates in that pod. That floor is not only wet, it is slick as glass. We actually walked in there, or some of it I did, and I know Brian did. I'm telling you, when you step on it, it's like in a greasy kitchen floor. So that's a safety issue. Stanley's not here. The safety should be everybody's, I know it is for a police officer, safety is job one. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying you have to go tear it up or all that, but we need to put some kind of mat, non-slip mat down in there. We've already had one, they brought it up, the police officer did, that we've had one lady fall and break her arm, not recently, but I'm telling you, that floor is slick as grease, and it feels like grease when I step on it. I'm just throwing that out for you, do with it whatever you will, I just want you to be aware of that.
With a sand coated paint or something like that.
Only part, I looked that up, as a matter of fact, it won't stick to a wet floor, and that, you can't dry that floor. So it's consistently, condensating from beneath it, so you can't paint a wet floor. Anybody tell that? You know that, don't you?
But if you put a mat on top of it, it won't turn into mold.
No, so I'll send you the email that I have, I'll send it to you. There are mats out there that are treated for mold and mildew, pre-treated for mold and mildew, so yes, that's a good question. Any other questions? That's just a couple of things I want to bring up.
When are we gonna start on
That's all.
the health department cleaning it out? I think that's the sheriff, man, he's under control of it. Right. That's what Waller said.
Yeah.
They got offices in there and they were keeping all their evidence in there, locked up.
Well,
So they'll have to find somewhere for it.
they're gonna have to get on it, I mean, you know, we need to get our certification back. Get the girls moved out of the way it's housed, and get on with the rest of it.
Go ahead.
I just haven't heard a lot since the old sheriff came to enlighten us on everything that he had planned for the old jail. And it seemed like things could happen right away, clean out that section like you're saying, and I don't see why it hasn't started yet. And that seems like a no-brainer, start getting this stuff done, that's really not gonna cost anything. And the Southfield contract, I don't know if they were told to ignore the pad over there, or if they're really that incompetent. If they're that incompetent, we should ask for a refund of that $250,000 or $80,000, whatever we paid them. I mean, if they did a site inspection, they should bid for what, $6 or $8 million to shrink the jail. When we had a pad over there, 2 walls and a roof, we had a bunch of beds. Move the women up there, and it's all been recertified. So I don't know if somebody told them to ignore that, or if they're really that incompetent. If they're that incompetent, what did we pay $280,000 for? I'm really concerned about that. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of our tax dollars, and we're a small county, we really can't afford to be ripped off like that.
I can answer that in a little bit. We didn't ever ask Southfield to look at just adding on. When we first contracted with them, we were under the impression we were gonna build a new jail, so we had them looking at new buildings. And then very late in the game, we had them looking at making that 130 beds. So I don't think they really had that in their radar as to just adding on a pod.
As much work as those guys done the investigating over there, they're not much of a, they're not much.
I think they owe us money. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question along the lines about that wet floor. Why hasn't the jail administrator maintained that section? I mean, you give him maintenance money every year, right, in the budget, to maintain that jail?
I don't know that it can be maintained.
It
From
can.
what I'm hearing Larry say, how could it be maintained?
You'll have to put mats down, then to actually fix that floor will have to be chipped up and put plastic down.
Or even certified, what if someone gets hurt and breaks their arm again? Or anybody gets hurt in the gym? We're decertified, you know who's gonna fix that?
It would not be good.
It would not be good.
That's why I recommend the mats immediately.
I'll share about that tomorrow.
talk about that, please. Anyone else? Okay, we'll have the minutes of next, last month's meeting. We'll have the trustees report. No old business, let's take it into new business. Tonight we have a visitor, Gabe Looney, and Billy, if you would, please.
I'd like to introduce Gabe to the commission and the audience. Gabe is with CTAS, he's a property assessor's consultant. About 9 years ago, the state legislators realized there was a need for property assessors to have consultants and someone they could go to for advice and solve the problem. So Gabe's been with CTAS for 9 years. Before that, Gabe was with the Blount County Assessor's Office, and he's got a total of 26 years with Blount County and other offices, and he also has been with Assessor's Office in Florida. Brian Duncan, who came over a couple months ago, he's with the Division of Property Assessments. Gabe is with CTAS. I think speaking for Gabe probably has no idea what Ryan's presentation was. So I would encourage you, both the commission and anybody in the audience, if you've got any questions regarding tax freeze, please ask them tonight while Gabe is here, because Gabe can answer them a whole lot better than I could. So I strongly recommend you listen to Gabe's presentation and feel free to ask any questions after Gabe gets done with his presentation.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Commission, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you this evening. I am aware, I did speak to Brian Duggan with the Division of Property Assessments, and was aware that he spoke to you, I believe, last month, and gave you a fairly, from what I hear, a fairly comprehensive, detailed explanation of the tax-free program. My comments tonight will be much briefer. I want to just kind of give you a high-level summary of the program, and more importantly, make sure that we open up enough time for questions, and hopefully we can get all those answered. Most importantly, as it relates to the commission, I'm going to start with two very important facts that I think you want to know as the county legislative body. When it comes to the tax freeze program, there are two vitally important things that you need to know. First, the county bears all of the financial burden. All of the costs to administer the program are bared by the county. There are no state dollars that fund the tax freeze program. That is uniquely different from the tax relief program that is administered by the state. Okay? The second thing is the tax freeze program, if you implemented it this year, it does not create an immediate savings. Let me say that again. If you implement the tax freeze program, it does not implement an immediate tax savings. The savings only occurs after the next tax rate increase. Okay? So, if we implemented the program tonight, and my taxes were $1,000, there's no savings. I'm locked in, I'm frozen at $1,000 until you raise the tax rate. Okay? Whether it be a year, 2 years, 5 years, however many years, until that tax increases, and it might be several years from now, you increase the tax rate, my tax bill goes to $1,200. At that point, I would have a savings of $200 if I'm locked in at $1,000. Okay? Two things. It's a local local auction program funded by the county, and two, the savings does not occur until the next tax rate increase. Okay? So as we look at the program, just the qualifiers that you're probably already well aware of, the taxes are frozen. It's the taxes. It doesn't affect the property value, the assessment, or the tax rate. It's the tax bill. Taxes are frozen. It's optional for the county and cities. Okay, so across the state, there are 27 counties that are currently implementing the tax freeze program. There are 35 cities across the state. So it's an optional program. As a qualifier, the homeowner must be 65 years old. Okay, and it has to be their principal or primary residence. Okay, there's an income limit associated with the program, and they have to follow an annual program. It's not a one-time deal. They have to reapply every single year. Okay? Most importantly, it's administered by the trustee or the city collecting official, and the property assessors involved in that process, assist with that process, verifying ownership and the improvements associated with the property. Okay? There are income limits. They vary by county. They are set by state law, okay, or the comptroller through the Division of Property Assessments are deeply involved in the income limits for every county. They revisit those. Those do increase on an annual basis. They're adjusted by the cost of living adjustments. All right, for Meigs County, the standard income limit was $37,530 last year. Okay. 37,530. That is the standard limit for the vast majority of counties across the state. Okay?
Household income or single income?
Household. The income from all the residents. Okay? All income sources. Okay? Now, the county also has the option to exceed that standard limit if you so choose. Okay? In 2025, the optional limit was 61,000 something. Okay? This year, it was bumped up to 63,470. Okay? So, if you want to consider the program and the standard limit is not going to get enough people in the program, you can exceed that and bump that limit to 63,470. Okay? All smile.
Did you go down?
Yeah. Okay. I had a map of the state that showed the counties, and the lion's share of counties across the state are in that 37,530 standard limit. This just shows you how the optional limit has increased. In 2024, it started at 60,000. Last year, it went to 61,920. This year, it will bump up to 63,470. Okay? So what are the county's responsibilities? Commission has to adopt the local option, tax freeze program by resolution. Okay, that's your responsibility. And then you also have to file that resolution with the Division of Property Assessments within 45 days of passage. Right? Next in line is the trustee. The trustee carries the lion's share of the work. They are responsible for accepting the applications and determining the eligibility, the age, ownership, residency, and income. And then last but not least, the assessor is involved in determining the base assessment, which is what the value of the property was at the time the applicant became eligible for tax freeze. And then they're also managing the value if there's any improvements to the property. There's a maximum acreage limit of 5 acres. So they're constantly looking at those property record cards for those applicants on a year-to-year basis to make sure that all the data has been considered as far as the tax freeze goes. Okay? All right, last but not least, this is just a comparison. The tax relief program, which you're probably already familiar with, this is a state level program. It's available to all counties and cities across the state. It's funded with state dollars. Okay, tax relief program is. It's administered by the state with the assistance of the trustee, but they do the heavy lifting as far as the application process goes. The state tax relief program is a credit or reimbursement type program. Okay, it's available to the low income elderly, disabled, and the veterans and their spouses. Okay? It's revenue neutral to the county, okay? Unless you choose to match to a local match to the state relief program. There's an annual benefit that comes from it. The income and the values are set by the state. It does not affect the local tax rate, okay? And it doesn't cause a shift in the tax burden. Those are all benefits of the state program. The tax freeze program again, in summary, is a local program, okay? You have the option to implement it if you choose to. It's funded by the county. Okay, you bear all the burden. It's administered by the trustee with the assistance of the property assessor. In some cases, it may require additional staff to administer the program. So that's a consideration you need to take into your thought pattern. The applications are approved by the trustee. The taxes are frozen. Okay, again, it's not property value assessment or tax rate, it's the actual taxes. There's no savings until the next time you increase the tax rate. Okay? It's available to the low income elderly. The local revenues will be impacted. Okay? So if you're locking in a tax bill at a certain amount, and the values increase over time through the reassessment process or whatever the case may be, you're going to be limited to that frozen tax amount. Okay? So it will cause a reduction in revenues. Okay? The income limits, there are income limits for each county. You do have the option to exceed that, an optional limit up to $63,000. There's an acreage limit, 5 acres maximum. Regardless of how many acres you have, only 5 acres and the primary residence can be included in the tax freeze program. It can affect the local tax rate, okay? Because you're locking revenues in or reducing certain revenues, it could cause you to entertain a tax rate increase. And it can shift the tax burden. So with that, I'm going to stop. Are there any questions for me?
You want that question?
My biggest question is the impact it's going to have on our county budget in terms of additional staffing or workload for our county office. What have you seen in other counties?
It has been my experience in most counties that there's usually at least the need for one additional staff for the trustee and property assessor.
One individually, one each?
Two total.
Two total. Got it.
And, people be on the tax relief and tax free?
They can benefit from both programs.
Does reappraisal affect it? Is that considered a tax increase, or is it just a
That's a
tax
value,
rate increase?
that's a value or it's a rate increase that creates the savings.
So the reappraisal, they would still be responsible for a reappraisal.
Right, so if my value went from 200,000 to 250,000, and I was frozen at the 200,000 tax, my new value would be 250, and I'm only paying taxes on that $200,000, I'm frozen at that
So the
$200,000.
reappraisal is just like a tax increase. Okay.
Yeah, value goes where it has to go. And the assessment could change and the tax rate could change. The tax bill, the taxes are frozen.
But that can also be reapplied for the next year.
They can't reapply at the new value, they're locked in at the lower value.
But they have to reapply to get an
Yeah, and to your point, I think you're leading us down a path. If for some reason the value of that property decreased, say I was borrowing $1,000, and say I demolished certain improvements on my property that caused the value to go down, and my new assessed value created a tax bill at $800, you would adjust it down. You can adjust down, but you can't. The only time, now, there is an exception. If I were to build new improvements on the property that added new value, then the assessor would readjust the tax freeze amount, and it would go up the amount of the increase of the improvement.
Anyone with acreage, anything over 5 acres is not included.
Correct.
So they're responsible for 100% of normal taxes on anything outside of the 5 acres. Who determines how many acres is actually frozen?
The assessor.
Who draws the line if they draw it, just keeps the house and keep all their outdoor buildings off of it, can they do that?
Greenbelt only allows like a half acre or an acre.
It's limited to, in most cases, it's an acre that goes with Greenbelt. So it would be the house and the acre in that scenario that would get frozen.
Okay, if an individual had Greenbelt and it was an acre that was excluded from the Greenbelt coverage, then that's all that could apply to the tax freeze.
Correct. The way the language is written, it says what the acreage that supports the residence, up to 5 acres.
It does not include barns and so on and so forth.
Unless they're on that 5 acres.
Who draws the line where the 5 acres is? If your barn's on the left-hand side of your house, and can you go to the right side where the barn?
Well, we have to think in terms of when we talk about the acreage that supports the residence, we're thinking in terms of wells and septic. So where are the utilities that are supporting the acreage? We're not necessarily concerned with the outbuildings. The driveway, the well, septic, the utilities, those kind of things.
Anyone have any questions? Speak now.
I have one. So the comparison you did with needing additional personnel, you said normally one in one office and one in another office. Were those places that you're comparing us to the same size as us, or were they bigger than us?
Well, normally, the counties that have implemented the program are typically bigger than you.
Yeah, so.
The other thing that drives that, to that point, the question, I don't know the answer to this, and I don't want to put the trustee on the spot. The interesting number that could probably help us with that conclusion is how many recipients of the tax relief do you already have?
Like 120, wasn't it?
I thought it was like 437.
So you would expect that at least that many people would qualify for the tax relief program, understanding that.
Pretty much the same guidelines, so it should be right there, real
Right.
close, shouldn't it?
Yeah. And of course, there's an annual application process, and people turn 65 every year. So the number.
And people pass away. You got people.
There's pluses and minuses, yeah.
Now, if y'all raise the income limit, you increase that, I mean, that number of 100 and something's not really gonna apply because you're gonna get an entirely different group.
Yeah, if you increase the limit another 30,000, that's a game changer. That's gonna get more people, make more people eligible, I think.
That would just, if we increased it above the minimum, that would just cause us to be looking at a tax rate increase a lot sooner
Potentially,
to make up the difference. So we're on pennies right now.
yeah. Yeah, I wish that math would have cooperated for us. There's only about 8 counties. There's only about 8 counties that have done the optional, and they're generally much larger.
How many counties are implemented in this program versus counties like this that haven't implemented it?
There's 27 counties across the state that are currently in tax freeze. So not even a third. I think it becomes very evident that tax relief program is possibly the better option. And if you want to match, you have that option without, because the state is going to be responsible for administering the program, the application process, all that. And then if you chose to put dollars towards it to assist with the match, you would match all or a portion of the state tax relief if you chose to.
How many counties are doing that? Not real sure.
Yeah.
Because I can see the benefit to the people if we're doing that, it might even be a savings to us, if we're not having to hire people.
It would be a savings to the county, I would think, but, I mean, yeah, the state reimburses the relief part, so the county doesn't experience any deficit there. But if we, just for instance, gave an additional $100 to each one of those recipients, $126, $100 a piece, something like that, you know, a percent of what their property value is, then we're not hiring 2 additional people and added additional tax load or workload on individuals. I can kind of see that as savings to the county. Did I say that right?
You did.
Any more questions? Anyone in the audience have a question for him? Commissioner, anyone?
I would like to hear from our trustee and assessor. What are their thoughts on this?
Let me say, you know, that there at the end, Rick, I mean, as long as I've been in the business, that's what I've always heard, is that the county's next step should be to match on the tax freeze. I've been told, if you want to help the property owner, that should be the county's next step. Excuse me, the tax relief, not tax, to match on the tax relief. As far as my admin employee goes, my staff and I took the afternoon today where we went to Bradley County, and we set in on how they administer the tax freeze. Now, we decided that we don't think we will need another employee, but the issue is our aerial view software. We use the state's program. Bradley County's got they pay a private company about $70,000 a year for that program, which really helps them on administering the tax freeze. Now, between now and next month, I plan on maybe checking to see what kind of quotes it would be, that we could get for a county like Meigs. The deal is, I think, probably should look at going in with the sheriff's department, 911, EMS, and maybe even this town of Decatur, to see if we could get a deal for us on it, that which you just get a lot better view of the property, and that's what they're doing, is they're just sitting there. see there, they get the application and they're able, every year they look at the property to see what's been added on. For the state program for aerial views, I get that once every 5 years, and chances are the photo's about a year and a half old when I get it. So right now, I'm working on a 2018 photo, and, I am gonna check and come back and see if it would be feasible to look at going with a upgraded, aerial view program.
In our office, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't.
But to answer your question, we feel like we can do it without adding any additional employees if we could upgrade our software program for our aerial views.
So in our office, I do not believe we would need anybody extra though. And I will, whatever's best for the county and citizens, so. I'm kinda learning too, so I would have to, understand it a little bit more myself, but our staff is good, so we can handle certain things.
All right, thank you, guys.
I got a question. Does the tax relief and the tax freeze both have the same income stipulations, or are they different?
Just vary just a little bit, not maybe $1,000, $2,000 or so. Real close.
But the tax relief doesn't have the greater.
Tax relief also includes this other veterans, it has some, Stacy?
Yes,
It
correct.
has some additional people that are not 65 years old.
Yes.
I'm just talking income requirements.
Yeah.
So it's only the 30, whatever, thousand for the tax relief?
36, 37,000.
37,550.
So it is different, so that. But you cannot change its amount like you do for the tax free.
Yeah, it can't be up by the county.
Right.
Yeah, and the tax relief program doesn't incorporate the entire tax bill or the entire value. It's lesser for the low income, elderly, and disabled. It's 33,000 in value is all that gets the relief for those two groups. The veterans have really good lobbyists, and they get 175,000 of their value is included in the tax relief program.
Oh, okay. So the property value.
Yeah.
You can never know both too, right?
So that
You can do both, right?
correct.
Any questions from the commission? Any more? I want to thank you for coming tonight and explaining this to us. It's good information. Okay, moving on to the next item of business, we have the resolution to amend Article 6 of the Bay County zoning. And what this is to eliminate security bonds for cell towers. We discussed this 2 months ago, and we failed to get it on last month for the second reading. We had first reading 2 months ago, and this is just a second reading, clean it up. It's to eliminate the disbandment of the facility, the tower, and it's actually in the contract with the property owner, so it's kind of a double thing. You gonna go? Yes. See you. Thank you. Next item is trustees' resolution rounding of property taxes.
Can I just, yes, can I just,
Would you like to explain that, please?
what this is I kinda, since you all gave you a letter about from Southeast, and what it happens to boil down to is no more pennies are being made. So, like Southeast is gonna have a hard time getting pennies, and it doesn't have anything to do with the tax rate, it's not gonna change that. And actually, we are already rounding our property tax bills. So it doesn't change that, it's just, that come with the resolution that the comptroller sent out. It would only be the interest. So in March, of course, if you have not paid your tax bill, interest is added on. So instead of having pennies, you would round it. So that's kind of what.
Up and down,
Yes,
is it gonna be rounded up and down?
yes, I think that's what it says on my letter.
It'll be rounded to the closest nickel.
I think that's what it says on my letter there. I'm sorry, I didn't get all that.
4 cents would round down to 0.
Yes.
6 cents would round up to the next
The dime,
nickel.
6 cents would round up to the nickel, which we
It would be 4 plus 4 cents. It would round up.
So, that's just something that the trustees have come up with, so, I just thought I'd bring it to you because we already went to the bank across the street to get pennies, and they are already saying that we may have trouble getting pennies. So,
think doesn't have circulation, I don't know what they're thinking.
so that's just up to, you know, whatever you wanna do, so. I don't wanna run into us not having pennies, so, that's the thing, so. I wonder how to recommend.
We're gonna be seeing this from our other clerks too, so get ready. Janie and Maddie and everybody that makes change, we're gonna have to be adopting these policies.
This resolution, is this just pertaining to the trustees department, or is
Yes.
this pretty generic for that CTAS has done?
I think
For
this
guidelines.
is specific to her office,
It
it mentions property taxes, so we'll probably have another resolution prepared by Janie's office and Maddie's office.
And it's only on the interest, so I wanna make that clear, if you were, you know, late payment for it. So that's what it, because the property taxes are already
Rounded.
rounded, that was done in a resolution a long time ago, so several years ago, so.
Any questions, before we go to this? Okay, thanks again for coming.
All right, thank you for having me.
Next item is food insecurity grant. Let everybody speak to that, if you would.
Okay, I think we'll have 3 votes that we're gonna need to do next week. One will be a motion to accept the low bid on the large equipment, and I'm looking at this page right here, this is really all we're gonna have to look at, unless you wanna read all those pages, specifications. So, I'm gonna recommend that we accept the low bid for the large equipment. And if that passes, I'm gonna ask that we also pass a motion or a resolution to rebid the small equipment, because when the state put that out, they didn't get any bids, so we're gonna have to re-advertise. And that is really small things like cooking utensils and pans, it won't be a very large, bid. The third thing that we're gonna need to vote on is, the vehicle, and I'm gonna ask you all to reject the bid for a vehicle. The one that was bid here was $59,500, and when we advertised, we told the potential bidders that we wanted a new van or not more than 2 years old. And so the only vendor that sent in a bid was a vendor who submitted a bid for a van that was a 2024 model and had 11,000 miles. And as a local government, I went on statewide contract, and I discovered that we can buy a new van with 0 miles for $1,000 less than what this is. So I'm gonna ask, the third thing for us to vote on, or for you to vote on next week, would be to reject the bid for the vehicle and authorize me to purchase a new vehicle on statewide contract. We won't have to bid that out, we just go with on statewide contract. Now, what's been holding us up for months has been the MOUs and the lease agreements. Some of our partners were a little confused about what it meant, and just as of yesterday, we finally got everybody on board with these lease agreements. And the reason that there's got to be a written agreement is because these are big ticket items, and the state is not willing to let these nonprofits just take full possession and title to these big ticket items and not have any recourse as far as if they quit using them for their intended purpose or to prevent them from selling them. So the lease agreement is a 7-year term, and it stipulates that as long as they are using the equipment and the vehicle for its intended purpose, then at the end of the 7 years, ownership will be transferred to the partner at that point, because the state will consider that close to the life expectancy. And some of them didn't understand that. They were a little apprehensive, thinking that, it wasn't theirs. But now, on the vehicle lease specifically, Sheridan's looked over it. We've had multiple eyes on it. It stipulates that they got to maintain it, they got to insure it. We are not liable for any damages caused by the vehicle, but it is still, we will be on the title as the leaseor, and they will be a leasee. It's like you went to a dealership. And at the end of the 7-year, ownership will be transferred to them, then at that point, they'll get the title to the vehicle, just like they paid on. Any questions? That was a lot, but we'll need 3 votes next week. Large equipment, rebid the small equipment, and then reject the bid for the vehicle and authorize me to purchase a new vehicle.
What would the vehicle be used for?
Yeah, that's what I,
That's my question.
For delivery of meals. So that, church up in 10 Mile is gonna have, they got a food program that's going now, and so for shut-ins, they're gonna be boxing up food and meals, and they're gonna be using the van and volunteers for those that can't get out to show.
Do we need to vote to approve the lease?
I don't think so. The state's kind of looked over the lease, and me and Sheridan had a conversation about that. Do you want to discuss that? We don't think so. It was a issue with some of them, because they were expecting, when we had our early on in the meetings with our partners, and our partners are the Gathering in 10 Mile, Next Ministries here in town, and early on, we had a group called Basic in Birchwood that operates out of the old Birchwood School, but they serve a lot of Meigs County residents, and their director lives in Meigs. But over the course of the years, meeting deadlines and thresholds, they kind of fell off, and they got eliminated. So they are not, we're down to 2 partners.
So why do they need a 15-passenger van to deliver meals?
Well, that's what they requested. I did ask that question. They are wanting to take the back seat out, and they're going to put volunteers in the front to be taking out the boxes when they get to places, and then they're going to use the rear part of the van to store the boxes.
trailer keeper, man.
That's what they requested. Now, we got approved for an amount of $302,000. That doesn't mean we got the money. That just means when we were planning this in the early stages, and they submitted lists of what they wanted, we thought it was gonna come to $302,000. As you can see, the large equipment come in at 63. I really expect the small equipment to probably just be 10,000 or so. Might be more, I have no idea. But, I forgot to grab the statewide contract on the van, but I believe the van was right at $1,000 less than this. So, you're looking at 115,000, 20,000 maybe. So it's coming in at a lot smaller number than we were approved to get reimbursed. But our partners kind of, I guess, did realize that the equipment was going to come in for less. Any questions?
They do this for 2 years and they quit. Are we on the hook for paying this stuff? And then what happens to all the equipment? They keep it or where's it go?
If they go out of business, if their nonprofit folds up, or if the state comes in and audits them and determines that, hey, we don't feel like you're using this equipment, then the equipment will first come back to us. And then we'll have to notify the state, and if the state wanted to say, well, just keep it, the state may say, we'll sell it at public auction. But in the event they broke the lease agreement, then the equipment would have to be returned to the county.
Who checks to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do?
Well, the state told me yesterday that they could inspect at any time, and as the leaseor, I would expect that the county could at any time. Do you agree, Sheridan? I would.
The county does have some administrative overhead with the lease agreement for the vehicle. It needs to have a depreciation schedule, which the state is fine with depreciating this particular asset over 5 years, so 70 to not that we don't have, the county wouldn't have liability, lawsuits can come from any angle, we've seen that. But they would have to indemnify, there is protection, but they need to maintain insurance, and we need to make sure they're maintaining insurance, as an additional insurer within, up to the yellow limits, so. There may need to be further conversation about that, matter.
Any other questions? So you think we need to vote on all the bids, and then take a vote on the agreements? So we're looking at maybe four votes next week.
We're still looking at rejecting the bid.
I see the better deal.
One, yeah, I understand there may be better deals at that particular one, yes.
So it would be a vote to reject the bid from W.
You wouldn't have to vote to reject the bid, you would just have to give them the vote to rebid it.
Yeah,
We talked about that.
To rebid, but then we don't have to bid out with state-wide contracts, we just, like when the sheriff, the highway department needs a vehicle, they just get on statewide contract and they find what's on.
You just gotta have a motion to approve the purchase, correct? It's over first.
Does that sound right to you, Liz?
You would be, yeah.
Okay.
So you got two vendors doing this, one from Kinloch and Metro Industries, correct?
Yes.
Are you gonna email us that contract, we're gonna vote on it next week?
It's been before the commission, before we talked about it, but yeah, we can go into.
It's in the back of this package.
So we do that.
So we've made just, there's been little tweaks and changes made.
And in the contract, can we put in our advantage use only for this program?
It says that in.
And they're going to carry insurance on it.
Yes, they have to carry insurance. And they asked a question, and I had to dig in the lease agreement to find it, but basically, he asked, well, what if we drive the van 2 or 3 years and we hit a deer, it's sold, who get the money, and how do we replace it? Well, they're paying for the insurance, they'll get the money, but they'll have to replace it with a van of similar value, year, make, and model, and the lease will continue on. That's the lease, Andrew, but we have tweaked, we've made some minor tweaks to it, but in the spirit, that's it. If you're comfortable with that, please.
So we're getting how much money from the state, what kind of strings are attached? Can they bring truckloads of people that need to be here and drop them off, or why would the state give us that much money to distribute to churches?
It wasn't just for churches, it was for nonprofits or those dealing with people who are food insecure.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And your question was what?
I'm just asking what kind of strings are attached. Can they bring busloads of people here and say, hey, you guys signed this contract, we're dropping these people off in your town?
Now, I think folks who are getting food from the vendors are having to get pre-registered, and then they're responsible for checking off if these people are, if they're low income or whatever, because that's not addressed. But actually, food is not involved in this, believe it or not. This is just for refrigerators, things to help in the food distribution. So however they're getting their food now, whether it's through a food bank or donations, that remains as it has been. This grant was just to facilitate that by buying tables and refrigerators and freezers and stuff to help what they've already got going.
I just don't see that much money given away for not something fine print.
Any other questions?
Okay. Next item. Circuit court clerk, surplus request.
Has 3 computers. And that takes us to budget amendment. Leslie?
The budget amendment is for the highway department, and this is for their CPR's retirement. We're just gonna move funds around in their budget to add some to the retirement line. Some employees around the budget, which need to add. Number 2 is planning and zoning for their office supplies. They had an unexpected expense early in the year where they had to replace their computer and their printer, and it has left them with, Number three is the county coroner medical examiner line. And I've actually attached spreadsheets to the back of that so that you all can see where those numbers come from. And they are all estimates. We obviously cannot plan ahead for the number of autopsies and things like that that we'll have in the county. The reason that we are adding so much is because we did have 9 autopsies in the county in the first 2 months of the year, and those have gone up significantly. We usually estimate and budget somewhere between 3 to 5 for the whole budget year. So I have budgeted for estimating, 3 more autopsies and all costs associated with that. We may not have another one, we could have 6 more autopsies. There's no way to determine that yet. So that's why I made the spreadsheet, so that you all can see where I came up with that number.
That 24,595 would come from fund balance. Any questions from anyone? Do the next one, that's yours.
The next one is to pay 2 invoices from a company called Ozone Company. The first invoice is $7,500, that's included in the budget amendment for the county coroner line. This invoice is pertaining to the letter that the sheriff's department brought, before the commission last month. The letter, and the resolution were incomplete, so that has to be tied up. The second invoice for the same company, was an invoice that I received on the 29th via email from Dr. Roberts' office. So we weren't expecting that invoice. So the letter requests to be revised, an explanation, and I'm requesting a resolution that we pay both invoices directly from the correct line item, because there are no POs for either one.
So a total of $8,500. This also comes from fund balance.
You approve the budget amendment, and then it'll be there.
Okay.
You pay the invoice.
Everybody clear on that? If we approve the budget amendment, $24,000, that money, $8,500 will be in there. It covers it also. Correct. Okay, the next item is code compliance fee schedule. I'll explain that a little bit. New rules of the state, any planning and zoning in the state that's charged over $250 has to justify it. And there's a pretty much standard letter that they put out. John did the letter for Macon County. And it's just saying that the reason Macon County went up to $300 on some item, was because of publication expenses increase. We all voted a couple months ago on the rate changes implementation, so this is just a letter saying why.
This doesn't have to be voted on, correct, Chairman?
It does not, but I would kinda like to. I just like to clean it up. It doesn't have to be voted on. I was told that it doesn't have to be voted on, but it did have to be discussed with the commission. So if y'all are okay with voting on that, I think I would rather make it as clean as possible to do that. And the last item is highway department road list. This is our annual road list that our road superintendent provides us, and we approve each year. Any questions, comments on that? Okay, that takes us into notaries. We have one notary. That takes us into informational. We have the mayor's newsletter, zoning report. what we have done for the full year in comparison, can I give you the comparison? Very informative.
Chairman, I'm gonna ask if there's enough time to put the sales tax increase back on the ballot, and for that to go, and if so, if for that to go towards sanitation and whatever the county commission decides to do on the I told him I didn't have an answer for that, I didn't know if there was enough time, maybe that's something we need to ask Judy.
I will confront Judy tomorrow if you would like me to, and see. We were told that the last time, Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong, 50% of it has to go to the
There are
schools.
stipulations, it would be, dispersed, I do believe, just like regular tax. It has been a while back, so I have to refresh my memory on it.
50% doesn't have to go to schools, but
How much?
50%.
I was thinking we said 45, and then we were told that we had to increase it to 50%. On this particular tax, sales tax, for 50%, I think. And then we can disperse the remaining 50% to sanitation, debt services, or whatever we want to do. But we need to.
But I remember last time, there was that deadline, so I don't know, they know if it was 30 days.
It's like third time storm, this will be the third time that it's been on the ballot. This is something that does have to be voted on by the public. So,
Rick, I spoke to Dan Howe a week or so ago about the sales tax and the liquor by the drink. And Dan says that he doesn't think you have to put it on the ballot. He thinks the commission can vote to approve it, and then it would be up to the citizens to get a petition and have so many signatures to remove it, before you did have to put it on the ballot. But he thinks you can get by with the commission voting on it. So that's something you might want to research.
I don't ever question Dan Howe, but I would question him on that, from what I've read.
But you might want to have Sheridan check into that to see if that can be done.
Why would we try for a third time?
Citizens already spoke twice.
I don't believe you can build a liquor store in the county.
You can't build a liquor store, it has to be in the city.
Yeah.
And there's someone right now that's just waiting on the word to build one here in the city.
How many do we have in the city?
Pardon me?
How many do we have in the city?
It's based on population, I think 2 or 3, we were told once before. That would, if the county voted to sell liquor, that would open restaurants up to sell also.
Would that remove the 1,800 feet from the church?
No.
You do that, you would need a bigger jail.
Pardon me?
You do that, you will need a bigger jail.
That's all we need, people.
People out there
Driving
drinking.
home.
That's right.
Back to the sales tax, are you okay with me finding out tomorrow if that can be put on the ballot? Everybody okay with that? Okay, I'll follow up with that. And have an answer next week, and if we want to pursue that, then we can do that, okay?
To get the property line surveyed, do you have to vote on that for expenditure?
Yes,
For the
yeah, once we figure out who owns it and where the property line is.
Well, you said you were gonna get it surveyed, that costs money, so do you guys have to vote on?
And I can probably approve that, the survey, and get it out of building maintenance.
You don't have to vote on that next week?
Surveying what?
Survey the 10-mile.
Question about the property boundary at the 10-mile.
I couldn't hear.
It appears that it's all in right of way, but we've got to look at that. According to property here, it's all in right of way. Any questions from the commission?
Glad to see that we had 0 findings on audit. This is my 3rd term, and this is the 2nd time I've been here to see that. That's pretty good. Like, we may even get another plaque. We got a plaque the first time. 0 findings is pretty good.
Yeah, 0 findings is great.
Thank you.
And you're back. Meeting adjourned. Oh, no, everybody says, we need to say we're gonna have a meeting with our attorney